we'll make the shrimp first, so we can have a little bit, and then we'll make the raviolis, because they'll take us a few minutes. And to start the sauce, so I'll move this out of the way. I guess we're gonna cook over here the shrimp. So I've got some julienne prosciutto, some sliced garlic that we did earlier, and we've got a whole bunch of Key West shrimp. They're nice white pinkish shrimp. And they're really, really sweet. So when we get those, we try to put them on something like this that's simple, has a lot of flavor. Let's see, much more flavorful than the imported shrimp that you get from mostly the Far East. But you can see they've got still some a little bit pink orange to them, and so we already peeled them and deveined them. Yeah, so we wouldn't have to do that here. We just left a little shell on, little tail. So I usually season them with a little salt and pepper. Where's that salt? I can use peppermint. Then we're doing a big batch. If you look at your recipe, it's for 4 for an appetizer. I think it's 16 shrimp. But since we're feeding everywhere, we're going to do about 75 shrimp. Same process though. Got a couple big saute pans we're going to work with. Got a lot of pepper. And then we got some freshly chopped basil we're going to mix in. Some Italian parsley. Like that. I like to toss it ahead. Let it sit for a few minutes. Sorry. I'm going to move over here. So I guess you could see the pans on the camera. We're going to start with some olive oil in the pans. Like that. Now these pans have been sitting on the grill for a little while, so they're pretty hot already. So we're going to go ahead and, there we go. We can go ahead and do the shrimp. They cook really quickly. So you don't need to, you want to have your pan hot first, so the water will just seep out of them and they'll shrink up on you. We're going to try to do them fast. In both pans. Like that. The towel. Yeah, I'm going to clean it. Maybe it's the towel. That's it. They only take about 2 minutes on each side. So you'll see we're going to stir them around a bit. Like so. And you'll see they start to get a little more orange, and start to curl up when they're getting ready to be turned. Another minute or so, like that. There we go. Now we're going to flip. Once I turn all these, I'm going to get my garlic, a little more oil, and cook my garlic in with the shrimp. Then I'm going to add the prosciutto. Put a little more olive oil. Oh, nice fresh sliced garlic. I try not to buy the. We never do, but I wouldn't for home either. Buy the garlic that you can get in a store that's already pureed, super strong, and it has preservatives in it. So I know it's a little more work to peel and chop your own, but it just gives you so much better of a flavor. A lot of times you'll taste that raw garlic taste, and it's really from the garlic that's been chopped for too far ahead of time. Same thing here. A little more garlic. Okay. Now garlic cooks, I'm going to put a little prosciutto in here. And it just adds a little more flavor. There's not too much. And then I've got a chili pepper. A couple chili peppers in there. Just let this cook for a second. I don't want the garlic to brown, but I want it to cook through. I'm going to keep tossing them so they don't burn. like so. Got some white wine and some brandy I'm going to put in. Add a little to each one. Like so. Squeeze some lemon. I put a little white wine and a little bit of brandy mixed together. There's that. And put a little more olive oil. Now since we're gonna feed everybody at once, I'm gonna put those together and make one more pan so everybody gets to eat. So we'll do it one more time. Leave this one off to the side for a second. All right, one more time. Actually, it's a Tuscan olive oil that one I got at Costco. Usually we use all the things coming out of Italy now that we're buying from purveyors. They're all blends from either all over Italy or all over the Mediterranean. They've got Tunisia and Greece, and so this one has just a great consistent flavor. So we buy a few things from there. We buy prime meat from Costco. We buy this, a couple other items that are really good there. It's Tuscan extra virgin. Yeah. Just because it's usually you don't cook with it, but this dish doesn't have too many ingredients in it, and it's cooked really quickly, so it's just easier. It's better to use that. I'm gonna have Jose make the last batch. I'm making tonight are the raviolis that I grew up eating. My father would always make them. It would be like the holidays, and we'd have them all over the house. He'd make 100 and something and freeze them. We'd have them on the dining room tables everywhere, laid out in newspaper. So we use I use a real thick ricotta cheese. If you can get it, they have it at Joseph's and Doris's. It's like an old-fashioned. It comes in a tin, so it's much thicker than the Polio, but it's not always available. So let's see how thick it is. Not too much water in it. So we'll start with about 4 cups. There we go. All right. Got about 3 pounds here, so I'm going to put 3 eggs. Put 1 egg per pound. Oops. In there. Then I just fold these in. I don't want to whip it too much. So I want to try to keep it thick. Then fold the eggs in first. And just stir them in gently. Like so. There we go. Okay. Now that I've got that there, gonna get some more little fresh basil, some parsley. More parsley than basil. Some salt. Yeah, sweet basil, Italian parsley, which is the flat parsley. Crushed red pepper. Yeah, and it comes out of here pretty slow. See, it looks like it's more than it is. I got just a touch of crushed red. Tiny bit of crushed red pepper. And then I need Parmesan cheese. You can put it in if you want. You don't have to. The Parmesan. Flakes. Just a little pinch of flakes. Red pepper flakes. All right. There we go. All right, so that's pretty much the filling. And then I would put it in the refrigerator and then get my dough ready. But since we're doing 4 courses and feeding everybody, we prepared a few things ahead of time. So I made the dough this afternoon. Let's get this put away. So here's the dough I made today. So it's pretty much like kneading bread. I know you have the recipe there. I didn't want to go through making it all because it's time consuming. It's 15, 20 minutes of just just kneading it. So it's just flour, eggs, and I put a well in the flour and whisk it with a fork so it kind of sets in, and then just kind of mix it with the hands. I put a little salt in. And if it's too dry, I put just a few ounces of water to get the right consistency. Depending on, really it depends on the size of the eggs because they're not always the same. I use one per cup. Yeah, let me just toss together a little bit of salad. We're gonna do a little salad garnish with this, mix it. Okay, I've got some heirloom cherry tomatoes here from Diane, and I've got some of her French breakfast radishes that I julienne. I'm going to throw a little basil in there. And this is kind of spicy arugula that Diane's got. I'm going to just julienne a little bit. A little bit of lemon. And that's my vinegar. Just going to put a tiny bit of sherry vinegar in here. Some olive oil. That's it. And toss it. Yeah, go ahead and put the shrimp on. I'm just going to put a little of this on top of the shrimp. Yep, you put a little sauce on it. Yep. Well, we're going to go on to the sauce and the raviolis. So I made a batch of sauce this morning, but I'll show you how to make it. But you'd have to cook it for 5 or 6 more hours. So we can make a small batch here though, and get it started. So I'm going to have Jose do that while we're making raviolis. So with the sauce, we always had either sausage, pieces of pork, pork bones. I probably would cook it in the sauce with the onions and a little garlic and the tomatoes, and it would just cook on the stove all day. And if we had meatballs, I'd put the meatballs in it if there were any left by the time they got done frying them. So Jose, if you want to cut the sausage, clean this up, and then there's sausage and pork in there. You can season that, saute it, and with a pot I brought, and then put some half an onion and a little bit of garlic in it. So he's going to start that, and once he gets going on it, we'll show you how to cook it. When I make sauce, for me the most important thing is that I cook the garlic just to the right stage, because if you undercook it too much, it has that raw garlic flavor, and no matter how long you boil the sauce for, you can't get rid of it. Because I'll have the guys, Jose knows, he's been with me for about 20 years. He worked when we had our other Italian restaurant, No Anchovies, he worked there, and then came to Chardonnay, and all the time when they're cooking, I'm always watching for the right stage of garlic, because you could tell that it wasn't cooked enough. And if it's not, it's just, the whole pot is pretty much ready to go in the trash because you can't fix it. So and people that tell me they can't eat garlic can eat the sauce because the flavors, that raw garlic flavor is not there. And I can't eat raw garlic, so that's why it bothers me. So I guess that's probably how I started not liking it. I grew up that way, and so this dough is cut about 1 inch thick, and this electric one, but the hand ones work just as well. That's what we used to have. And I started at the widest setting, and then just start. This has all these safety features on it, so you have to flatten the dough a little more because it doesn't want you to put your fingers in here. So I start at number 10 and just start passing it through. I keep flour and move these things out of here. a little flour on the table. And as it comes out the first few times, the flour both sides, and then just go back down a number. On a small pasta machine, your roller is about this wide, so it's actually comes out to about the exact size for the way we made raviolis by folding them. These sometimes just a little bit too wide, but it's faster, easier for us. We're making a bunch, and we'll make these once in a while, but we usually make raviolis with either butternut squash and some ricotta mascarpone cheese, maybe some white truffle butter or something, or we'll put raviolis with lobster. So we try to mix it up. Sometimes we do veal short ribs raviolis or pork cheeks. So see how it gets long and thin like this? So I'm on number 4, or number 5 in this machine. And then I'm going to fold this to match the two sides. And then flour the outside of it. Then I'll put it back through the same numbers. And this should widen up a little bit. Come on. There it goes. There we go. So it gets a little wider, and then just go back to singles. Number 4. And I see a lot of recipes for raviolis that use different specialty flours, whether it's a 00 or semolina or something. And I grew up eating it, having raviolis with all-purpose flour. So I've tried all the other ones, and I guess just the way that I learned how to make it, that's what I use. The 00 comes out a little too soft for me, but. As long as it's floured, it won't stick together. You can leave it for a second. All right. More flour. I'm going to go just one, like half a notch thicker on this machine. If you have a handheld machine, each number has a lock in it. This one doesn't, so you have to kind of play around with it and see how thick it gets. There we go. There we go. I usually go to on this machine I go to 1.5. On the hand cranks we went to 2. All right. I'm going to pull this a little closer to me. So
any questions for the chef? Any questions?
Any questions yet?
No questions?
I'm going to even this up a little bit. There's a few ways that you can use molds. We'll use molds at the restaurant for smaller ones. These are going to be more like a home style, so I'm just going to we're going to cut them, fold them, and cut them. Where's my scoop? Damn it.
Chef, we have a question. How do you make gluten-free ravioli?
I've never tried them. I assume you can make pasta dough with a gluten-free flour. Maybe a chickpea flour or something besides wheat. I've never tried one before. I assume if you could do that. Have you cooked anything with gluten-free flour? I didn't know who asked the question. I know.
I just don't know if you can just substitute like almond flour and it works, but when you read about it, there's some sensitivities about not using wheat. I just didn't know if you ever did it before.
I haven't, no, but I don't know. As the gluten makes the this flour, this the dough stay together. So I'm not sure how it would work with almond. Have you tried it or read anything about it?
I've never tried it.
No. So I'll put a nice little scoop of that in the center. Then I just put a little bit of egg so it seals it.
Anybody else have comments about the gluten-free? Any ideas?
We're going to fold this and then cut it and then press it with a fork. So I just grab it from the back and just flip it over until the edges meet, like so. Kind of an imperfect ravioli shape, but you know they're homemade. There's a little fly on there. Then I just take the side of my hand and kind of press down between the two, like so. And then you can cut it with a knife. If you got a roll like this, you can do that. Like that. Then it's a regular like dinner fork, and press it. If it starts to stick, you can dredge it in your flour, like so. And then flour your table. Put on it, put it on a sheet pan. I usually let them dry for a little while. And if you're not going to cook them right away, you can put the sheet pan in the freezer. Let them freeze, and then take them out, put them in Ziploc bags, and they'll last for probably a month or so. I wouldn't go any longer than that because they're not completely sealed. And that's it for these. And then we boil them for 3 or 4 minutes, and they're ready to go. So Jose's cooking the sausage and pork. We season it with a little salt, pepper, and a little bit of granulated garlic. And we brown it on all sides, and then add some diced onions and let them saute till they're translucent. Start to actually get smell a little bit sweet. And then we add a little bit of garlic, not too much in this sauce because it has all the meat in it. And cook that through. And then add some tomato paste and some plum tomatoes. The San Marzano, the certified are the best. They're a little more expensive. We actually use a brand at the restaurant that's grown in California, but it's not available for retail sale. It's called Stanislaus, and they have 4 or 5 different types of tomatoes, but they still have never gotten into retail sales. It's just restaurants only. All right. You got that sauce working, Jose? But you could taste it like every hour. We taste it up more often than that, but we're always stirring it and tasting it, and you can taste the difference as the sauce changes and it gets to a certain point where you say, okay, it's ready. It just has a little sweeter flavor, and you do taste the meat and all the herbs. There's fennel in the sausage, so that'll come through. And then when you add the meat, if you add meatballs to it, then you get a little extra flavor from that too. Those are so we usually fry those in a cast iron skillet first, and I kind of keep them off on the side of the stove. And so we used to eat half of them before the rest went in the sauce, so there wouldn't be too many in there by the time we got to dinner. But there was so we could smell the sauce cooking. We were up on the 3rd floor in the house, and it would just go all the way up through the attic and to the 3rd floor on Sunday mornings. You could smell it. It was good.
And so if you go longer than 5 hours, you just have to, there's just a point of diminishing returns.
At some point, it starts to taste overcooked. The bottom of the pot the tomatoes will start burning, and the sugar in the tomatoes will start to burn. And you'll have a little, like a kind of a back taste of the burnt sugar when you taste the sauce. And then again, you can't fix that after you can't go back from that. It's kind of like with the garlic. So it is something you have to pay attention to it. And the recipes, the recipes are as good as they can be, but sometimes the tomatoes are different. They have a different amount of sugar in them, so it's just kind of, you're following the recipes, but we're always not changing it, but adding or taking something away from it.
How frequently do you have to stir it in the pot?
About every 10 minutes. Just keep a wooden spoon next to it, and every time you walk by, stir it. Yeah. All right. It's but it was different. People were home. Now I know a lot of kids, especially, they don't ever get a home cooked meal. Nobody has time. So it's takeout, and so they don't really they might taste it, know that it tastes good, but they don't have the memory of where it came from. So I started doing one of our customers made a donation to feed children during this crisis. So we started working with a foundation in Jupiter, the Edna Runner Foundation. It's an after-school tutorial center for disadvantaged kids off of Limestone Creek, and they just put in a garden, and they've just adopted this program where the kids will go out and work in the garden and then bring the things back in, taste them, so they can understand where their food comes from, because they don't have any idea where it comes from and what they're eating. And so it's a pretty good program. They teach the kids, come after school every day, and they actually have to study. They don't. They've been there 35 years. I had never even heard of it.
Can you repeat that, please? The Edna?
It's called the Edna W. Runner Foundation.
Runner.
It was just an article about her in the Palm Beach Post. I think it was last week or the week before. Mary Hinton, who runs the Renewal Coalition up in Jupiter, we do events for them also. She recommended me to them because, like I said, one of our customers wanted to make a good-sized donation. So we're cooking dinner. We did it 2 weeks ago, so we're doing it again this week. I think we're going to get about 6 weeks worth of dinner. So we make a salad, an entree, a healthy entree with vegetable and rice or whatever else goes with it, and we give them some cookies or something. It ended up, they started out telling us it was going to be 150 people, including kids, and then when we got the final list, it was 270 that we had a package. It was it was 2 days before Valentine's Day, and I'd committed to it already, so I couldn't say no, because the kids had told their parents they're bringing home dinner for Valentine's Day, so it was fun, right, Jose? And we individually packed it per family. This is 6 people, 3 kids, 3 adults. And marked it all and then brought it up to them. So this week will be easier, but so it's good. They
Yeah, that's a great effort.
yeah. So we'll get about 6 weeks dinners from the money that this one couple donated. So hopefully they'll keep this going, because they're really not, they're used to eating the same foods, a lot of fast food, they told me, and a lot of carbohydrates. So we try to introduce some healthier things, and so this week the people, they were happy. They got good response back, so hopefully it'll be the same. It's 3 cans of tomatoes. Yeah. So Jose added the tomato paste. Now he's going to add 3 cans of tomatoes. And it's really the only thing with making sauce that like I make that can really ruin the sauce is, like I said, not cooking the garlic enough, and not stirring it, letting it burn. Other than that, it's pretty simple. It's just that's the most, for the way I make it, that's like the most important thing. All right. Almost done with these. All right. One more run of this, and we should have enough. Oh, this is almost getting too wide here. This is getting wide. I'm going to trim it a little bit. And all right. One more run. You can also use a pastry bag. You could use a scoop, like an ice cream scoop. I'm sorry. In when he's making the sauce, yeah, it's Italian sausage, and I bought some boneless pork ribs, but you can throw a couple pork ribs in there just for flavor. But when you put the boneless pork in there, and then you chop it up, and you can You eat it with the raviolis, or it's good. We used to have it with rigatoni on most days. We didn't get raviolis that often. It was usually for Christmas or Easter or something like that, a holiday. What's that? Yeah, with San Marzano tomatoes in the can. They're whole, and you just break them up in the sauce. They're really soft. You can break them up ahead of time, but after 4 or 5 hours, they break up in the sauce. Or you can also buy, like, the tomatoes from the San Marzanos mostly come like that, but you could buy a chopped tomato, and you wouldn't have to do it yourself, but I think the whole ones are better. All right, let's finish these up. I might need to do one more. Is the water boiling? It's more the smell, because you don't want it to brown, and it really doesn't get translucent like onions do. It just, if the garlic is like the bright white when you first chop it, kind of almost yellow, it'll turn whiter, and you'll be able to tell that it's softer. But the main thing is I usually will continue to just keep smelling it, and it goes from, well, it'll burn your eyes first as it's cooking. And as it cooks more, it releases the sugars, and it almost starts to smell sweet. And you don't have any of that, like, I'm gonna say, rancid garlic that you like, raw garlic smell. It's once that's gone, then it's ready. And it's just at that point before you go too long, and then yes, yeah, well, not low, medium, and stirring it. And I don't like to brown it because then it gets bitter. So it's a fine line. Let's see here. All right, I think we have enough. 1, 2, 3.
So when you're preparing the garlic, you recommend chopping it or crushing it?
Well, depends what you're making. It's a good question. I'll crush it. Sometimes I'll make I love making a sauce with your Happy Rich garlic. Happy Rich broccoli, I mean. I love that broccoli. So I'll take extra virgin olive oil and crush garlic, 4 or 5 cloves, and let it simmer over a slow heat for about 15 minutes until the garlic gets really soft, and then I kind of mash it up in the oil. And then I take your blanched Happy Rich broccoli, put that in, and I'll throw a couple anchovies in it, just for a little flavor. You don't have to do that, but I'll throw some anchovies in, some black pepper, some crushed pepper, and then just let it simmer for 5-6 minutes, and then toss it with pasta and some Parmesan cheese. It's so good. It's so simple. And you do that. So I'll do that with seafood also. I'll make like a white clam sauce or a shrimp with a sauce, like with white wine, and I'll toss that. But I'll do crushed garlic for that. It's a little milder. But you have to know it's there. You don't want to bite into it. So I'll take it out, and you'll still have the flavor in the olive oil. The chopped garlic, I like to do, like I said, you don't want to buy anything that's pre-chopped. And you could do it in the machine, in the Roboku or KitchenAid, but to me that also gives it too strong of a flavor. So we chop it by hand, even if we're doing a large amount. Because if you have a super sharp blade in the KitchenAid and put just a little bit in, it's okay. But if you put too much in, it mushes it, and it changes the flavor. You could use the same garlic and cut it 3 different ways and have 3 different flavors when you're finished cooking. All right, a garlic press will work. I take the stem off it, and that would work well. You just have to be careful because it's really fine. So if you are putting in it, you have to cook it really quickly. But it does work well. Is water boiling? Okay, we're just waiting for water. Hopefully it's boiling. Not yet. In the oven. See if we can fit 2 on top. You won't be able to shut the door. Oh yeah, you will. Okay, good. All right. We're waiting for the water to boil. So we're going to clean this up, and we're going to go on to the chicken. When the water boils, we'll cook the raviolis. So just give us a minute to put all this away. Let's just try like, they're not going to take very long because the dough's thin and it's really soft. So maybe do like 3. Let's just try. All right, water's boiling, so we're starting out raviolis. So if you look, I'm gonna start on the chicken thighs. So the recipe I gave you, I was gonna use bone-in, but we've been having trouble with deliveries lately because there are no truckers. So we ended up with boneless, skinless thighs. In our industry, there's such a shortage of truckers that we're always waiting on. Our orders are coming at 5 o'clock at night instead of 9 o'clock in the morning. Between the demand and then if one driver gets sick, they've got 6 or 8 of them out for 2 weeks, and so we sometimes have to adjust on the fly whatever we're making. So we have Bell & Evans boneless, skinless. So the only difference would be that you're going to cook the chicken not for 20, 25 minutes. It'll be about 10 minutes. And that's really the difference. And you're not going to have the skin, which I like having crispy skin, but the chicken still tastes good. So I'm going to trim off any excess fat, and just some of the excess that's on there. And so once I've got my chicken ready, I'm going to season it, a little salt. I've got some fresh rosemary here in front of me. I'm going to chop some of this rosemary, put it in there. Then I'm going to put a little Italian parsley and some black pepper. So this I worked for a chef when I first started cooking, and he used to make this Italian John Bot, he called it. But he would use chicken, he'd use sausage, he'd use beef, he'd use whatever we had, but still do the vegetables. So I like it with chicken. You can put some Italian sausage in it if you want a different flavor, but when you have this many vegetables, you don't really need anything else. You actually could just make the vegetables and not bother with any chicken, because she's got so many good vegetables. So I've got a hot pan over here. I'm going to move this out of the way. Get my olive oil. And so I don't want to get this too hot. This pan's been here for a few minutes. It might be a little too hot. Yeah, it is. I'm going to let it cool off for a second. That's too hot. That's going to burn the flavor. The olive oil is going to burn. I'll put a little water. Cool it off a little bit. That was hot. There we go. Now it's cool. Now we can do it. Let me take the top off. There we go. All right, a little oil, nice and hot. And get my flour. Just, yeah, go ahead and cook some more. It's still a little warm. I'm going to pull it off. So I dredged the chicken in a little flour. I didn't have to season the flour because I've already seasoned the chicken, so. You put the chicken in the oven, right, Jose? Yeah. There we go.
Questions? Any questions?
And I flour the chicken just so it'll give you a little body to the vegetables, but you don't have to.
Also, even though we already
Yeah, I got a question for you, Frank.
Okay, I'm listening.
So if you didn't season the chicken, you could certainly season the flour, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I seasoned the chicken already, so I didn't need to put anything else in the flour. And like I said, you don't have to use flour. It gives it a little bit of body into the vegetables, but you could just do it straight from the seasoning into the oil. It shouldn't stick, especially if you use, this isn't Teflon, but you could use a Teflon or a nonstick pan. I'm going to put a little parsley in with it also. And drop of basil. I'm just going to brown the chicken on one side and turn it, and then once I turn the chicken, we're going to take it out, and then we're going to saute all our vegetables. And then put the chicken back on top and then put it in the oven and bake it all together. So I've got 2 or 3 pans of it in the oven now that we did earlier today. That will serve as soon as these raviolis cook. Got some in, Jose? I've got some little eggplants here, little tiny ones. I'm going to use these. They're so tender. You don't have to peel them. You don't need to salt them because they're not bitter. So I just cut them up. Little mini eggplants. Yeah, see them? Nice. Same place. And I've got some nice plum tomatoes. Diane, these are for, what kind of tomatoes? They're like a paste tomato or a sauce tomato?
Tyrant. They are called Tyrant tomatoes.
Tyrant, that's right.
They are into the Roma family, but those Tyrant, they don't have any water in them. Sometimes you buy at the store some Roma tomatoes, and you lose half of it. But these ones, if you buy 5 pounds, you know you're going to have 5 pounds of meat of tomatoes on it.
Yeah,
they are naturally sweet. I used to grow them for a restaurant in Okeechobee Boulevard, the regional, and that's how she makes her tomato pie with, because that was her secret, because no soggy water at the bottom of the pie. So that's what you need, those Tyrant tomatoes. They don't sell those in the store. You'll have to buy the seeds and grow it from seed.
Jose, can you turn those chicken? You got raviolis in? Yeah.
Little secret.
Yeah, Diane's got some. These. Oh, these are baby eggplants. Yes, I didn't know where the camera was. Can't tell. Yeah, those are baby eggplants and tomatoes. That's already in. So in here, I've already cut this, but we've got some multicolored carrots, and I've got some little Cuban bell peppers, and some onions also going in there, and we've got
The market is open here on Thursday night from 4 to 7, and Saturday morning from 9 to 1.
and then
Those eggplants are called the fairy tales. You buy the seeds as one of those. You can grow them in the pot. This is one of the few eggplants. You could do that on your back porch. They do very, very well in a pot. That's what originally they're supposed to be grown for. So home gardener, here you go. They're very tasty. You don't have, like he says, they're not bitter whatsoever compared to the one you find in the supermarket.
That's about as big as they get, right, Diane? What we have. So I've got a little garlic here, and so I took the chicken out of the pot. So first thing I'm going to do is add the onions, the carrots, and the peppers. So I add the vegetables in the order of how long it takes for them to cook. So we're going to add these first and get those started. Clean up my mess. I'm going to season it again. I always find that it's easier to season as I go instead of trying to figure out. So I've got all these vegetables in front of me and try to figure out how much salt and pepper I need. So I do it, more, I guess by eye, but I season it. Well, I'm seasoning it for what I think I need for that amount. And then when I'm taking that out and putting something else in, then I can add it again. Instead of thinking I need 2 tablespoons and adding it all, and then I really don't, or need more. Yep. Right now it's onions, the Cuban bell peppers, and carrots, tricolored carrots. So I'm sauteing those first because it takes longer. So I'm going to do that, then I'm going to add the garlic because I want it to cook also. And then I've got some fennel, some zucchini, I've got the eggplant, and then tomatoes I want to cook down anyway. And then I've got the Happy Rich broccoli, which is like, Diane, this is like broccolini, I think. It's a type of broccolini, I think. And then these are Romano beans, a little green beans, but they're flat. They're Italian Romano beans that Diane's been growing for us for a while. And but the Happy Rich is like a sweet, nutty flavored broccoli. It's delicious.
I know. This is our famous crop here, broccolini, and I know everybody loves it too, me too. And it's a good crop in a way because it can take the heat. So that's the first crop to be ready in the fall, and it will be the last one to be finished at the end of the year. So you can, again, one of those you can grow home a little.
Is it hybrid? I missed that, sorry.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's actually, broccoli, it's a brassicaceae, but, imperial broccoli is, like in Publix, you get those big heads, those florets, right? That's the classic broccoli. It's, so a breeder made a hybrid between gailon, which is an Asian vegetable, and broccoli, and basically you come up with this broccolini. So imperial broccoli, when you grow it, you really just get 1 or 2 harvests out of it. That's it. I mean, yeah, it's done. You cut that big old thing off, and I mean, the plant just doesn't really produce anything else. I mean, little tiny ones, but
Yes.
it's all intents and purposes, its economic life is over.
Put them in it. Yeah, put them in the other one.
Yeah, I mean, as a grower, we are a small producer, and so, that's our job, is to find those niche products. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we try to, right, we have to basically fill the needs in between the commodity producers. Yeah.
I'll just bring it over there. Gonna bring that over there and start spooning them out of plates, yeah. Lost a couple. All right, raviolis are done. Stir this. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to hand it back to Frank here. What's going on there, Frank?
Okay, now raviolis are ready. See the sauce got nice and thick. We got chunks of meat in it. Where's my cheese, Jose? There we go. Put a little Parmesan on top. Can also make this with, I make it with chicken sausage. Now, 'cause I like chicken sauces. I'll get the chicken sauces with parsley and Parmesan. Then you do the same thing. You just don't need to cook it as long. I sear it and take the chicken sausage out, put the vegetables, let it cook for a couple hours, then put the chicken sausage back in just for the last couple hours, because it'll fall apart if it stays in there too long. Yes, they're all set. I got cheese. Yeah, take the ones with cheese. We have a little more sauce. I'll get sauce. You want to get some more? So I've got the chicken back out again. So I've got all the vegetables on the bottom. And then I've got the chicken that I seared, and I'm going to pour the juice that was from the chicken. And then you just put this whole thing in the oven for about 15, 20 minutes. So the chicken's 165 and the vegetables should be done. At a home oven, I'd say 375. So we use the convection oven at 350. So 375 would be a good temperature for home. Unless you have a convection oven, then 350. All right. All right, chicken's got a couple more minutes. I've got a couple pans ready. So I'm going to clean this up, and then we'll make the tiramisu, and then we'll serve the chicken and serve dessert. You could cook this with some white beans or chickpeas or something in it, and make it vegetarian and not have to still have some protein. So that's all cooked together like that, and we're going to put it over the chicken, and then we'll start dessert. If your stew gets a little thick, you can add a little bit of chicken broth if you have a can or a container of it, or you could add water if you don't have chicken broth. Chicken broth gives a little more flavor. I usually don't thicken tomato sauces. It's just if we do like a brown sauce, you could. Yeah, he's doing those. I wouldn't put flour. I don't like flour with tomatoes myself. Yeah, you could do cornstarch. It gets a little. I just don't like it. I would put less tomato in it, and you could just let it dry out a little more if you wanted it thicker. Probably little roux would be better. little more flour on the chicken would be better than cornstarch. They cook all the way through. See the little thing. Not all of it. Oh, you know, take this chicken and have it in the saute pan and put it in the oven. Just a little bit of it. Just throw that whole thing in the oven. I turned it off. There you go. That's it. This one is, that's actually the origin of this dish is a vegetable stew. So it was really it's from the Naples area of Italy, and it's just, they used, you know, whatever vegetables they had and cooked them together, and a lot of times they didn't have meat, so they were putting beans in it and cooking. That's where it actually originated. So that's the style of cooking from down there. You could do it with a brown sauce if you wanted to. We do chicken with different kinds of wines, and we'll still do vegetables and probably not eggplant or many tomatoes, but we would do onions and fennel, zucchini, still could do peppers, and either some chicken broth with some wine, or if you had a brown sauce, or if you wanted to use beef broth's a little bit strong, I think. So I use chicken broth if I cook chicken that I want to put with the sauce itself, and you could thicken it with a little bit of roux if you wanted to give it a little bit of body. A lot of you do it with mushrooms. If you want to make like a stroganoff type thing or a bourguignon type dish, you can do that with chicken also. But it's just, you know, your choice of what you want to use for a base. And this dish just happens to come from that area of Italy. I'm going to start making the tiramisu while you're eating your chicken. I brought some cream. We made pastry cream today, and whipped cream. And you got the recipes on there, and also espresso syrup. And we put in it with some amaretto and some Italian mascarpone cheese to go in this. All right. This is pretty easy to put together once you have all the ingredients made. So it's a few steps. So I've got my pastry cream here, which we make with sugar, whole eggs, cornstarch, milk, some vanilla, and then I've got a half pint of mascarpone cheese, which I can't open. So we make all of our desserts at Chardonnay. We don't buy any of them except the ice cream, and so we've kind of been known for that. We usually have 10 or 12 desserts a night, and we try to rotate them, but we have 5 or 6 that we just seem to always have to have. Whenever I tell our pastry chef not to make it, somebody comes in and wants to know why that we don't have carrot cake, or why we don't have tiramisu, or flourless cake, creme brulee. Those seem to be the most popular. So I'm folding these 3 ingredients together. So you want to fold them so you don't knock the air out of the whipped cream. And also mascarpone, if you whip it too much, it'll kind of separate like butter. If you ever over whip butter and it separates it, mascarpone cheese seems to do the same thing. So I fold it in just like that. That's ready. We buy packaged ladyfingers and line the bottom of a whatever dish. It doesn't have to be oven proof. And I put the sugar side down so the ladyfingers will absorb the espresso syrup we made. So I put those down like this, line them up straight. Our pastry chef's been with us since we opened. His name is Desi. He started as a dishwasher. His first year, he had just gotten here from Haiti, and our chef taught him how to make. Chef at the time, I had 2 restaurants, so I was back and forth. Taught him how to make a few desserts and how to make salads. So next year he became our pastry chef and like pantry man, because we were only open for dinner then. So he's still with us, Desi. Still makes the desserts, and he's 70, so hopefully he's still staying for a while, because I don't want to have to make them all over. Teach someone how to make them all over again. So this is espresso syrup. It's simple syrup that we make with we brew espresso, and then put sugar and amaretto in it, and reduce it. And then we soak the ladyfingers with this. So I've been cooking for 40-something years. I decided I wanted to go to culinary school when I was in high school, so I went to Johnson & Wales in Providence, Rhode Island. They had just opened, I think 2 years before that. I was in Connecticut, and had only cooked at home and cooked at like the Knights of Columbus. My father wasn't in the restaurant business, but he loved to cook, so he would cater weddings and events at like either Knights of Columbus or a church hall or something. And I started going with him, and when I was probably freshman in high school or something, and I would go 8 o'clock in the morning. We'd have to go pick up our food and get up there, unload the car, and start cooking everything. And I'd get there at 8, 9 in the morning, and before I knew it, it was 11 o'clock at night. And so it went by so fast. I thought, okay, maybe this is what I want to do. So I went to culinary school, and then, yeah, Johnson & Wales in Providence. Yeah. To Hyde Park. Yeah. I looked at that, but I wanted to work while I was in school. Providence had quite a few restaurants, and up in Poughkeepsie there wasn't really that many opportunities to work while you were there. So I ended up going to Johnson & Wales. Then I went back to Connecticut and worked, and I went 2 more years to school for restaurant management. And got married and moved to Florida, and moved to Jupiter. And I was fortunate. I got a job at Cafe La Rope when they first opened, when it was in the Esplanade way back in the early 80s. And I never worked in a restaurant that was that busy. So I learned a ton. And then we opened the first restaurant in Tequesta called Cobblestone Cafe. And that was in 82. No, we sold it. My cousin bought it, and then he sold it after that, and then Chris, and then Chris closed it. I think he's actually sold it again. It moved. It was where Gallery Grill is, except we were in the back. We didn't have the front. We didn't have a sign except on the front of the building. So we do this twice. 2 layers of lady fingers, 2 layers of espresso, syrup, 2 layers of cream. It's kind of the same. This dish is a little big. So that's where I got started when I moved to Florida anyway. So it was a good experience there. And then we had this. Then we had Cobblestone Cafe first. Then we had Chardonnay. Then we had no anchovies. We also had Off the Vine, which we sold. And place in Jupiter, the Sandbar. So then we went back to one, which is I'm happy to be at. Corner of PGA and right, Allen Isles? No, west. It's where you know where Salute Market is, in the PGA. It was there. We opened it in 2000. We were supposed to open the week of 9/11, so that got delayed, and then we ran it. Our chef ended up buying it from us 4 years later. We went back to one restaurant. So this is the idea. I brought a pan that's a little too big. As you can see, it's a little short on cream, but you would be about this thickness instead of where you can see ladyfingers sticking out. It's because the pan should really be a little narrower. This is too wide this way. But it's the only one I had at home. We make them in hotel pans. I thought this would look a little nicer, but it looks short. But yours is made correctly, so. And that's about it. I take these amaretto cookies and we just crush them. I crush them over the top. The little amaretti cookies, the almond. Try them already cooked. They're nice and crunchy. They're good for coffee or on here because they're too hard to eat. I just spread those around like so. And then it goes into the cooler. It's got to sit for at least 8 hours. And then we take it out and we shave some chocolate on top of it. And we serve it with either chocolate sauce or espresso zabayon. I brought chocolate sauce for today. So we've got that. So I'm going to pull those out of the refrigerator, and when everybody's done, we'll have dessert.